worst movie. What is the worst movie? Hard to say. You know, some people say it's Plane 9 from Outer Space, and we know they're lying. One of the worst movies I've seen is Dondi. Dondi was created by Gus Edson and Erwin Hasen. At the height of its fame, it ran in more than 100 newspapers from September 25th, 1955 to June 8th, 1986. When I was a kid obsessed by the comic pages that came out on Sunday, and as always, the movie section with huge drive-in listings, Dondi was one of the few strips that I hated. I had no interest. I always wondered, who liked Dondi? Dondi started as a 5-year-old World War II orphan from Italy who didn't know his name or family, who was brought to America by soldiers Ted Wills and Whitey McGowan. By the early 1960s, he was a Korean War orphan, and by the 70s, he was a Vietnamese kid. If there's a tragedy or war, Dondi is like Tom Joad. He'll be there.
You'll see me, you'll see me, you'll see me, you'll see me.
In 1961, Dondi was such a big deal that there was this movie which stars David Corey as Dondi and David Jansen as Dealey.
Here's one of the stars of Dondi.
I'm David Jansen. I just finished a wonderful new motion picture called Dondi. I play wheelin' dealin' GI. And I get hooked up with some of the funniest bunch of gold-bricking, girl-chasing GIs in any man's army. Now, wait till you see what happens to us when we get ourselves adopted by Dondi, that wonderful kid from America's best-loved comic strip. Well, here's Dondi himself, little David Corey. Come here, David, sit down. You take my word for it, he'll steal your heart away.
Dondi, the hilarious story of the kid who captured the army and turned the country upside down. Starring David Jansen, Patty Page, little David Corey, Mickey Shaughnessy, Robert Strauss, Arnold Stang. See Dondi.
Amazingly, Whitey died in the comic, so for some reason they just avoided all that. Patty Page is Liz, and the creators of the comic strip show up with Edson as a cop and Hansen as a sketch artist. I was obsessed with the Medved and Randy Dreyfuss book, The 50 Worst Films of All Time, as a kid. As an adult, I realized that so many of the movies they made fun of, Robot Monster, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, are all really good movies. Dondi is not one of those movies.
Dondi, the favorite of the funnies, is in the movies. A laugh-packed story of the kid who captured the army. See him take over a whole toy department.
Gracious!
Don't miss Dondi.
Director and producer Albert Zugsmith said that Allied artists made the film to prove they could make movies for kids, and then arbitrarily cut the wrong 20 minutes out of it. How bad is it?
Dondi, the motion picture that comes along once in a generation, packed full of laughs and excitement by the lustiest gang of GIs ever to storm the screen. There's David Jansen, Patty Page, David Corey,
And Bette Midler as the Ringmaster.
see Dondi.
Arnold Stang, who's in some horrible movies, Skidoo, Hercules in New York, is not the worst person in it. The whole soundtrack is on one instrument, the most annoying of all music instruments, the harmonica. And David Corey was just 7 years old and can't be blamed for how bad he is in this. There's never been a bad this bad. He was the son of Diane Corey, once a Rockette, and he was supposedly spotted on a New York sidewalk because, yes, he looks a lot like Dondi. Knowing how much I hated the daily adventures of Dondi, I should hate this movie just as much, so I guess he's playing the role properly.
Dondi, the favorite of the funnies, is in the movies. A laugh-packed story of the kid who captured the army. See Dondi.
Zugsmith also produced Russ Meyer's Fanny Hill, Captive Women, A Touch of Evil, and directed one of the weirdest movies I've seen, The Chinese Room. He also made Mamie Van Doren a star with High School Confidential, The Beat Generation, The Big Operator, Girlstown, and The Private Lives of Adam and Eve, so maybe I can forgive him for this movie, but man, it is rough. Have you seen Dondi? Would you like to talk about Dondi? Did you read him when he was in the newspaper strips? Did you notice that he's the one comic strip character that's never coming back? You can visit the site at bnsaboutmovies.com and email me at bnsaboutmovies@gmail.com to talk all things Dondi and really anything else you want to talk about.